Welcome back to We Care a Lot. I'm half the podcast, Mel.
I'm the other half, Sam.
Hey, we're back for another episode. This one is kind of like part of a little mini-series we've been making. Life After Cheating is what I'm going to call the series.
Yeah. Well, part of the series, we could come out with, I don't know, you guys interested in the cheater side?
Well, we did talk a little bit about it at some point.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we're talking about the person who was cheated on.
Yeah.
And how to move forward. Did dating last? And in this episode, we're going to be talking about how to move forward in a relationship. Mm-hmm. So you found your person.
Yeah.
But you got issues now.
Pause. Do we want to even consider them taking the person back that cheated? Is that another series? Is that another part of the series?
I think that's a different part.
So this one's that you did not stay with that person.
This is a new relationship.
Yes, a new person.
Life after being cheated on in a new relationship.
Yes.
Is what we're gonna call that. So basically, just to start, you really got to put yourself in a place where this feels new. And realize that it is a new relationship, a new person.
Yeah.
And embarking on that journey with this new person, for sure, you're completely right. You're probably thinking, but things are going to come up. For sure. I agree. But you have to set yourself up knowing that, like, these two people are not the same person. And so the challenges that come up, you really need to,
like, understand that it's kind of you and not them. Sometimes
it is them, but we're hoping this person's completely
good, not sketchy, not giving you any sense of weariness. That's not to say that it's not real, but like sometimes the things that you're triggered by are not real.
Not us, you're already telling them might not be real.
Might not be real.
But no, you're like starting fresh, but of course that's going to come with you feeling some type of way about the maybes and like, you know, this happened last time or whatever the heck, you know, like it'll come with its own set of problems. But how cool that you get to start new.
Yeah.
Like, this is a fucking clean slate where you get to make new mistakes, new problems. No, I'm just joking. But like, you get to start but you get to start fresh, and like really acknowledging that will help you move forward through the rest of this episode, at least.
At least acknowledging just like where you're at. And also, we're assuming that this person is a good, I'm not going to tell your future that this person is your person forever, but like this person at least has the bare minimum qualities of someone that you should be with and giving your time to. So like, they care that you have triggers, they communicate, they're honest, like all these things are a given, but I'm going to say it just in case you're taking this advice and you're with someone who does not give you all of those things. That's a different conversation.
Right.
So now that the foundation's laid.
Now the foundation's there.
Yeah.
I think we both agree that the first thing to really touch on here is transparency and honesty. And with that like comes like communication as well. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But really like understanding and building like this trust between the two of you, where you can have open communication across the board, across topics, across like thoughts and feelings and emotions. Because like we said, things will come up, but you have to have this space where you can talk about it, because if not, things get resented. And I think that's probably where, you know, the last situation that we're talking about, the infidelity, the cheating, it's the lack thereof communication and open and honest and transparency and honesty.
Yeah. And sometimes the honesty hurts to hear, but it's better than the latter of the lifelong living of having to deal with someone that cheated on you, you know?
Yeah.
So might as well hear the tough, hard truths before they do something with them, I guess. For example, like the hot take that I think we have is like our partner, if they want to cheat, or like they don't want to cheat, but if they have feelings of wanting to step outside of the relationship, I want to know. Like, I'd rather it be a conversation, which, like, I've never had the conversation, so I don't know how bad that conversation hurts. But I would rather that, and then I have a decision. Like, I can either be like, you know what, if that's how you're feeling, maybe this isn't for us. Which, like, I'm not saying that should be the reaction, but if that's how I felt, then maybe there's something else there, right? But, like, if they just cheat, I don't have a choice in any of that, and it's just a violation entirely. So, yeah. I don't know if everyone feels that way. I feel like some people would rather just not have that conversation, especially if you're the one having it. Like, saying, I feel like stepping outside of the relationship, like, I know it's going to hurt my partner's feelings, and that's hurtful.
Yeah. I don't know if it's just because, I mean, I don't know if it's just because Logan and I had both been cheated on when we got into this relationship very, very early on. We, like, from the jump basically said, like, if that is ever a feeling that is felt, then it's something that needs to be communicated. Because, I don't know, like, again, like we said, like, this is probably, we're speaking about this relationship as if it's the person that you want to be with very, like, for long term. And with that said, for me and Logan, like, we want to be together forever. So, like, I'd rather have these conversations about, you know, because people want to cheat for different reasons. Sometimes it is like, you know, they want to experience something outside of the relationship, or it's something that's lacking in the relationship.
Yeah. It
really, and, like, there's, like, varying degrees to, like, both of those things. Like, you know, if you guys are in an open relationship, that's completely different. But, like, there's different rules to everything. So with being honest about those feelings, both parties can then make an informed decision together or separately. And by separately, I mean, like, separate, to move forward. But, like, if someone has feelings in the relationship that they want to step outside and the other person doesn't know, then there's, like, just so much, just, like, not even just dishonesty, but you're really just not even giving your partner the opportunity to make a decision for themselves if they want to be a part of that. And that's really what happened to, if you're listening, if you were the person getting cheated on, is, like, you weren't given the opportunity to say, you know, can I try something different, or can we try something different, or if that's something you want to do, I'm out. You weren't given that opportunity, and that's why it felt so violating and so upsetting.
And most of the time it's because that person doesn't have the self-awareness to realize there's a conversation to be had.
But that's what we're speaking about here, is, like, having those open and honest conversations with one another. You know, they're not always going to be happy and, like, exciting conversations, but I think it allows you to go deeper into your relationship and really understand each other and each other's needs.
Yeah.
Because there's sometimes just, like, and also, like, the thoughts, this is, like, a big part for me, is, like, I'd rather have these, like, thoughts out loud with my partner, because they're not always real. You know, sometimes it's like, you might have a feeling about something, then your brain kind of creates, like, a solution or a weird thing that goes along with it, and then it kind of just continues to, like, run in the background until it becomes a real, seemingly real thing for you. But as soon as you discuss that with your partner, there's something to move forward with and something to work with, versus if you're just, like, running on your own. It's not a decision that you're making collectively anymore. There's, like, something else happening.
Kind of ridiculous. Like, my first boyfriend, I had this thought in my head that I was just like, I'm not attracted to him anymore. Like, I don't like him like that anymore, I don't think. And honestly, I think it was real. I think that one had to have been real. Yeah.
Me, but I still got cheated on.
Right. I should have left. I should have communicated that, because then I wouldn't have got cheated on.
I don't find you attractive anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, even if that's real, like, have the conversation.
Right.
Please.
I still should have had the conversation. Just really funny to think about. But, like, had I had the conversation, not that it's my fault, but maybe I wouldn't have ended up getting cheated on, because I would have left the situation prior to it happening. But communication's everything.
Was it something that you, like, tried to, like...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I threw it in the bag. There's, like, certain things that I think I just get icked about. And I think some people even that I think are, like, generally attractive people, they'll do something and I'm like, ick. And it's just, like, their hair moved in a certain way sometimes. reactions. I know. And I can't control it. It's not like I'm like I try to push it back. I'm like, no, it's fine. You like them. They're good people.
Oh my God, yeah.
But enough said about that.
Have a conversation.
Yes.
Now that you have like open and like honest communication with your partner and you've built that foundation, there's obviously some things that have to do with you and just you alone. And a lot of that is like your insecurity, and it's just like, girl, it's time to build yourself back up. There's self-worth that needs to be worked on.
And trusting yourself. Like, I feel like a lot of the doubt comes from doubting yourself and choosing a good person again. Like, it feels unreal. Like, I'm in disbelief that I could even have done it myself, like found someone good enough, or just being like, no, there's something wrong with them. Like, I know it. Like, just putting that out in the universe that like, I don't trust myself, essentially. So I think that's like the biggest thing for me when it comes to like eventually being in a relationship, is just being like, okay, you don't have to doubt yourself. And like, each situation is so unique, and you don't have to have all these like rules about that person and what makes them, I guess, like trustworthy, or like what you thought it meant to be with someone again. Because I feel like I had those like rigid rules of like, they've never cheated, they have done X, Y, and Z, they would tell me this way, they would like react this way if I say I've been cheated on. Like, you know, like especially on a first date or something, it's like, oh, they didn't say, oh, I'm so sorry that you got cheated on, or what. I don't know. I feel like most people say that just out of uncomfortability, but like, but like, if that's one of your things, it's like, don't think about it too fucking deep, you know?
Yeah.
So if your partner's like not reacting the way you wanted, maybe take a step back and be like, okay,
is this about them or about me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a huge piece in itself. It's like realizing that your reactions to things is what you should be focusing. Like, triggers are gonna happen, and whether or not like your partner is, I'm almost certain that like at least in the beginning of your new relationship, your person is not going to be trying to trigger you purposefully, like hopefully, you know?
Yeah.
And so when those things do come up, it's your responsibility on how you're going to react. And your reactions are the most important things, because you're either teaching yourself that like you're still in that state of mind of being scared and fearful that your partner is going to do something, instead of having full trust in them until they do something wrong. Or not that they will, but like you can't really stay in that state of mind if somebody's trying to give you like their full and honest selves, and you're still holding them to the accountability of someone else. Like, it's just not fair.
Yeah.
So really like read into your reactions and not so much about the situation. Like, how, if something's triggering, again, fall back into the open communication, and like, no, I'm gonna say something great, but like, no thought is a stupid thought, I guess. But like, having the, like, being able to have unreal thoughts come up and telling them to your partner for them to reassure you or whatever, that is going to build like the trust when you're reacting in a way that's like productive versus like reactive, right?
Yeah. And I think like the biggest thing in terms of like controlling your reactions is sometimes you need to not bring it up right away.
Oh, for sure.
You know, sometimes you got to be like, okay, I'm going to sit with that.
Thing.
And then I'm going to think about how real that really was. Like, did they actually hide their phone really fast? Or did they decline a call really sketchily? Like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of things. I can't remember anymore of these triggers. But, like, they just come up, and then you basically have to say, okay, I can either react right now. Still, you can react in the moment and be like, hey, just throwing this out there. When someone like puts their phone away really, really fast, it kind of triggers me a little bit. That was like a bit much.
I would also not even lean towards that, because that even sounds like accusatory, because you don't even know if they were trying to put it really down.
No,
really fast.
I think it does depend on like the situation. Like, I think probably a bad example, but like,
yeah,
some girl's jacket's in their car. I don't know, you know, like,
yeah,
like something like that. You can be like, whose jacket is that? Is that Brittany's? Right. Like your sister's? I don't know.
Yeah.
But, like, I agree, too, that there's, like, a time and place, or a time and place to not say anything, and just be like, I need to trust them.
Right.
And it's just me feeling insecure about it. But also, in my past relationships, when I do bring it up, and then they react poorly, it's like, okay, why, like, in my own head now, I'm like, why didn't I fucking see that?
Yeah.
Like, one, you were doing something kind of sketchy. Two, I reacted in as kind of a way as I possibly could have in that moment because you've shown me that I can't trust you. And then you react poorly. Like that, if that's the situation you're in right now, that should be your sign to leave. Like, all of those things together are a big no.
I promise you, more than often than not, if you come at them with like very clear minded, like, hey, you know, earlier when you did that, what was that about, kind of a thing, and they react very like, it's probably real. Like, it's just a red flag, you know. But if you're able to have, again, open communication about like even the silliest of fucking thoughts, that's where you're gonna
especially it's less silly, or I'm sorry, it's less serious if it's like, you, let's say Mel just like really quickly put her phone away right now, and I immediately was like, well, that was kind of weird, why'd you put your phone away like that? You would probably be like, what the heck, like, what are you talking about? But if it was like later that night, I was like, you wanna know something silly that kind of triggered me earlier? And then it's like less pressure and like accusing you of doing something, but more just like, yeah, like my ex used to do that all the time, so I felt really weird in that moment, but I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want you to think that I was accusing you. But then it still gives them the opportunity to be mindful of what they do, especially if it's something that is a big trigger, because everyone has different triggers that no one can control. And it's not to say your partner can never, ever, ever put their phone away really fast. Like, it's just something to be mindful of for each other.
Yeah, I think a big piece of this that's coming up for me too is like, at least a big thing in my relationship is we have this thing where we say like to each other, we always assume positive intent towards like actions and things like that. Sometimes that's really difficult, especially in like those triggering moments. But that's why like taking the step back and thinking like, okay, positive intent, their intention was not to do that to me, but I'm going to bring it up so that I'm reassured, you know? And that's when like,
and that's where the fucking foundation really does come in, because if you're afraid of bringing it up because you're not sure how they're going to react, or like, that's where the foundation comes in of like, I know this person wants, which like, I guess, I don't know. Do you think there's like a time of when you can say you genuinely have built a foundation with somebody, or a certain amount of things you've gone through together that solidify, you know?
Well, I think like that's a good question, but I think like a lot of people, I feel like, who have been hurt in the past and stuff, I think it's really hard in the beginning in relationships because you come with all this quote unquote like baggage or whatever. But I think even assuming positive intent in the beginning, and not like, if this person wants to be with you and they're like your boyfriend or girlfriend or partner, at that point when they decided to be that thing with you, I think you should move forward in believing them.
So like boyfriend, girlfriend for sure is like, we're building something together.
Yeah, we're trying to build something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you should just already have like the feeling that they want the best for you.
Yeah. I think like still being on the outside of relationship status, what my brain went to right now was like the thing that people say is like, you don't actually know anyone till a year or whatever, like all those things that people like to say that trigger my anxieties. Which I don't think have to be real, right? Like, you can meet someone and then they are good people and it does work out in beautiful fairy tale land, whatever. Not that that's a fairy tale, but just like in general, like it feels harder to find that. So that's why I think we always have these triggers at the beginning. But I agree that having like knowing that the person has positive intent is
from the get-go.
Yeah, from the get-go is the better place to be at with somebody.
I mean, it just sounds kind of silly to me if you don't think of it that way. It's like, so then when do you build? When you're a year in?
No, definitely you're building the whole time, but it's like, at what point are you like, you never like fully will have crossed every bridge there is to cross, I guess. Like, there's going to be no point in a relationship where you're like, I know exactly how they're going to react or whatever.
And that's a big piece. I feel like although I've been in a relationship for 5 years now, I still see like every day is a new day. Like literally from the start again. Of course, like we have like history now, but like somebody can wake up the next day feeling completely different about you. You know what I mean? So it's just like positive intent has to happen every single fucking day.
Yeah.
You woke up one day and weren't attracted to somebody anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, that is what it is.
It's not even a day, baby. I didn't even take a night's rest. I just looked at that dude
said,
and was like,
not today. Not ever again.
That was not it, was it?
Anyway. Yeah. So overcoming the insecurity, really like fighting that self-doubt and like the doubt of the other person, like just like wiping all that shit away and being like, I'm starting fucking fresh.
Yeah.
I'm not going to react to this. And my reaction to it is to be proactive and say, this stuff made me feel a little uncomfy, might be silly. I just want to let you know and we'll figure it out from there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think going into that is like the the boundaries of it all. Like,
right.
Like you have to know also, like we're saying, when to bring shit up, and the boundary is really going to help you, like, within yourself, know when something is worth bringing up, I think, also.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have boundaries, also in the relationship, in terms of, like, at the very beginning, you're probably setting things that are, like, not allowed. You cannot do this. For example, I think another hot take we have is not really caring who they follow on Instagram. Like, obviously, if your fucking entire feed is naked women,
then you got some issues, but
there's something. I probably don't like you. Like, if that's your feed, I'm probably not interested in you anyways. Get a hobby. Like, have a golfing guy come up every once in a while. I don't know. But, like, just having that boundary, if that's who you are, if you're like, you can't, like, not you can't follow, but my boundary is that I don't want to date someone who does X, Y, and Z, whatever that is. And if you got cheated on because your ex went to festivals every fucking weekend, maybe that's a boundary for you. Like, I don't want to date someone who goes to festivals. Not to say everyone that goes to festivals cheats, but for me, I know I'll be too triggered to pursue a relationship with that person. And I feel like that's okay. But there's also a chance for work there. And lots of triggering moments to happen for you, which could be good and healing if this person not is worth it, but is worth it, then like maybe. But I think you just have to figure out what those boundaries are.
Yeah. I also like encourage you to think about things of like, are they boundaries or are they expectations you have of somebody? Because a boundary is something that protects you and is not necessarily to control someone else. And I think a big piece for me that was like not hard for me to learn, but it was just something that I learned as I went along the way, is like those boundaries can't really like define someone's life, someone else's life. It can only like do something for you, because like you are two different people. Like, you're not going to be the same person. Like, you're not one. You're two different lives, like coming together and building something beautiful together. And so like if you're really like affecting somebody else's way of life, and I don't really think that that's like coinciding with one another. But I think you can set boundaries. Like, for example, for me, and this is like more, I guess, of a communicative like boundary, but like I am not a person to fully address something right off the bat as like a situation happens, an issue happens or occurs. I like to take a step back, because I get emotional shutdown from like my own childhood trauma, that I don't necessarily have the right words to speak right away. And if you did want me to speak, I'm going to speak in a very triggered, angered mindset, which that's never the way I want to communicate. So my boundary is just to like kind of like leave me the fuck alone for a little bit, and then I'll come to you when I'm ready to speak. And I've learned that, you know, before it was me like just being silent, but that doesn't work for a partner like Logan. So I've learned to like say, hey, I'm going to take a step away for a little bit. I need to like clear my head or like think about what I'm going to say next. I'll see you in a little bit, and then I'll walk away or whatever. Because like that is just a boundary that I need for myself to protect myself, and my peace, and also come off in the best way that I want to. In terms of like lifestyle boundaries, I don't know that I have any, because I feel like I'm dating a person whom I'm very in line with, and I don't know that that is something that that's
what I think. I think if you have a boundary in lifestyle, like, I don't want to date someone who goes, you're just not going to be with that person.
Yeah.
It's not something you have to tell someone to do or not do. Like,
I guess I just have a little bit of trouble with like what you had said. Not necessarily like I don't agree with you, but I just feel like if their lifestyle is like going to festivals, and that's just not somebody you should be dating.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, my boundary is within myself to not date those people.
Got it.
You know what I mean? It's not because you do that, I'm telling you.
But in a relationship, how would that? Because we're like,
yeah,
that's
I
more
mean,
about
I think
dating.
so. Like, if you're in a relationship and you're with this person and they never went to festivals, maybe was like, and then all of a sudden they want to go to a festival, and you're like, wait, that's a trigger. Like, I think you need to realize, like, okay, this isn't who they are. This isn't like about that. It's like the boundary isn't about like the fact that they're going to a festival and you don't want them to go. I think it's realizing that it's a trigger for you. And like, maybe the boundary there is, okay, well then I expect you to text me every night, or whatever boundary you can set there. I don't know. But like, that's a very specific example.
Yeah.
I don't know. But like, if you're in a relationship and they do something that is like lifestyle related, I guess, and it's a boundary for you in general, but you never had to bring it up because when you were in a relationship, started the relationship, it was never an issue. Because I feel like those things come up, right? Like, people change. All of a sudden they want to go to Coachella every year, but when you started dating, they were home all the time. I think just like things like that coming up, and just knowing that it's not necessarily their job to do anything about what they want to do, but it's still an opportunity to communicate, like, where you might have a boundary. Like, let's say a bachelor party or bachelorette party comes up and you guys have never experienced that in your relationship. Obviously, I think those have the stigma of being highly cheatable occasions. So maybe there's boundaries there within that experience. Like,
for sure.
Not you can't go, because that's not fair and that's not healthy, but like,
the bare minimum is don't cheat.
Yeah, don't cheat on me. No, but like, maybe you do have boundaries about certain things. I don't know. I think it's really hard. You get into like fishy waters when you're like, you can't go to a strip club, or you can't, because I think, I don't know. To me, I would, if someone told me that in a relationship and I loved them and I want to be with them and I knew it was going to make them uncomfortable, I wouldn't, you know?
Yeah.
It's a boundary that I think is fair to set, because I would honor that boundary for someone else. But also, you have to have flexibility, I think. Like, if it's their best friend's bachelor party and they're all going, you really, like, I don't know. It's kind of like you got to trust that person, right? And I think that's when it comes into play, when you're with someone who cheated on you.
Yeah. I guess like that's...
Then it's like, okay, babe, yeah, not allowed.
Yeah, I guess like with like defining boundaries, I think my biggest piece of advice is like figuring out if it's a boundary or are you trying to control somebody. Because I know you could fall very deeply into
telling them what
to do to save your emotional peace.
Yeah.
But listen, people are going to live their fucking lives, and that does not mean that they're going to cheat on you.
Yeah.
You know? You got to learn that slowly.
So much easier to just tell people what we wanted them to do all the time and be like, they literally can't cheat. It's impossible. Like, I control everything. But like, even if you tell yourself that,
they still do it. They still find a way.
Yeah, they still do it.
So let them live their life and be the happiest person that you met and that you fell in love with. And, you know... And through that, honestly, like, a big piece of it for me is, like, allowing my partner to be who they are. And then, like, being proven wrong, almost, of, like, oh, they're not going to do something to hurt me, has been so emotionally and, like, I'm just so, like, it's very healing. So I think, like, although triggers happen, I don't think triggers are necessarily a bad thing. I think it's an opportunity for you to not react the way that you're gonna think you're gonna react, and also allow the other person to prove that they're the person that you want to be with, you know? And it's not about you. You know what I mean? You make it about you when you try to control the situation. Better yet.
It's so interesting to think about this, like, because then I just think about the nuances. I've never been in a relationship that's like literally healthy and like good, so I haven't gotten to the level of being with someone and they've not never ever hurt me, because I'm sure you guys have hurt each other in small ways or whatever, but like, there's been no like solid foundation to stand on. So when I'm like thinking about my past relationships, I'm like, every time something happened, it was a problem. You know what I mean? And then the problems built on problems instead of being proven that they were a good person. Yeah. So I'm like, but then I'm like, so sometimes though they have to prove you a little right, and then you just like breathe with that and then move on, because it's not like they cheated. But like, I'm sure there's I guess like I'm just trying to think as someone single hearing that, I'm like, okay, so I have to find someone who never ever like not necessarily hurts me, but
that's different.
Yeah, hurts me different, but
like a little unreasonable. Someone's gonna hurt you a little bit,
but like never, but like genuinely did something bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess that's up to each individual,
like what they consider
forgivable
offenses.
Right. I think like it's also like what they did bad versus like the greater scheme of like theme of who they are, you know?
Yeah.
They're different levels of degrees. Like I've been deeply hurt by Logan to something that she didn't find that offensive, and it's something that I had to sit with. That then like, but we had communication thereafter, like, and also with like my own therapy and stuff. Like I've learned that as long as I communicate, it never happened again. And it's not like she didn't understand the gravity of like the pain that it caused, but once that I explained it to her and understood my own emotions, it was something that it was understood. Like I understood where she came from as well, and it was like a very like even transaction of like emotions of like, I for sure didn't mean to hurt you. It was not something intentional. I understand where you're coming from. This is where I came from. Like, and understanding that, like, no one's right, no one's wrong. You know what I mean? It just is something that happened. And of course, it did hurt me. But, like, at the end of the day, her greater person is more important to me than that moment in that situation. Yeah. Especially she never did it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the thing. I think, like, that's when, complications in relationships get so in the weeds of like when people talk about relationships, obviously we want to speak highly, and because generally it's a very good relationship, it, like overall compared to everyone I've ever met, like it is. So I'm like trying to compute that for my own relationship, you know what I mean, while being realistic and not being like, oh well, Mel and Logan are perfect. So, but I know you guys aren't, but like I feel like as a listener, someone listening on the outside, it feels very like, okay, so I need to find someone who's just literally perfect. And that's
listen, like I'll fucking say we're perfect, but I feel like we're perfect because we can move through fucking conflict, and that's the biggest piece. Like, we're not perfect because everything goes exactly to fucking
everyone's
plan.
Always happy.
Yeah, it's like we know how to deal with uncomfortable feelings together, and like that's the biggest piece. And also, like, with that said, like I feel like we deal with a lot of our own issues by our fucking selves, and that comes with like our own our self-awareness of each other, you know. Anyway,
I just had to.
I get what you mean though. Moving on to the next piece is communicating past experiences, when and how to share them. See, this one I think comes back to like the open communication aspect. The when and how to share is a little bit, I would say, like not so important to me, really.
Yeah, that one, I feel like we've talked about this, like the TikToks where the girls are like, listen, you don't talk about your trauma. You don't talk about bad things. You don't let them know how far to the ground you're willing to go with a man, or whatever the fuck they say in these TikToks. But I'm like, I just want them to know what they're getting themselves into with me. And I want to know what I'm getting myself into with them. So if it's on the first date, because conversation is flowing, we like each other as people, and so we can get into that conversation, okay, then we'll get into that conversation.
Yeah.
Obviously not like the depths
of
what
but also like if we're speaking about like you're in a relationship already, I personally think you've already like talked through a lot of
that's
these
what I'm saying.
situations.
So it's like the beginning, I don't care if you talk about it already, then you talked about it.
Also, again, like the when and how, I feel like it's gonna come up again like through triggers, in my opinion, and maybe you can be proactive about that and talk about it, you know.
There's only so much someone wants to hear.
But though. I don't
like prior to there being a reason for it, you know?
Yeah, the prep work is just, it's a little weird. I think it'll just come up by situation to situation.
Yeah. I don't think there's any need to be premeditated about it all.
I feel like a little piece that I don't feel like is really talked enough about, after being cheated on is like rebuilding intimacy in general with like yourself, but also then like moving that with a partner or a new partner. With an old partner, that's, or like the partner that cheated on you, is a whole other topic, but like in a new relationship, like that's still something that needs to kind of like have some work on. I mean, of course, like situation to situation, but I think ultimately like cheating feels violating in general, especially like when you didn't know about the cheating and then
things continued.
It just feels really violating to your being, obviously, like soul level, but then also like to your physical body. Yeah.
I think there's just like
sounds like a little tough one,
like, especially, I don't know, depending on how you went about dating, I guess, and intimacy in dating. Like, it's person to person. So like if you're in this relationship full blown now, and maybe you guys were not intimate up until this point, or maybe you just said you wanted to take things slow at the beginning for the reasons of it being you guys are just now barely together, or like just things change over time in general for the person who was cheated on, and for people in general, but for the person who was cheated on to be like, you know what, now I'm realizing that I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to be intimate with you in that way because I'm working through things.
Something.
Yeah. So that obviously has more to do with you as an individual and not the relationship, but I think it could get into your own head that it is the relationship. Like, maybe I'm not attracted to this person anymore. Maybe I don't know what else. Like, I'm just like no longer a sexual person. Maybe I don't like doing that anymore. Maybe I never will. Maybe they'll leave me because I don't want to do that again. Like, there's all these fears, but I think that it just really always comes down to communicating again, and the person you're with is going to want to be there for you and talk through that.
I also with that, like, I want you to not feel guilty at like if this happens to you, when it happens to you in the relationship. If it's in the beginning and you feel like you're supposed to be having sex every single fucking day or whatever, that doesn't need to happen. I'm going to tell you that. Like, it's okay. Also, I'm hoping that your partner then like understands like where you're at, and again, going back to the open communication, like that is something that's so important because things like this do come up for some people, and you want to be supported.
And there's other like forms of intimacy
for sure
that your partner or you can work on. I mean, especially you, if you're the one that's feeling, I guess, this way for yourself, building intimacy within yourself.
Yeah.
But then also if your partner is not supporting you and just being like, oh, well, whatever, then I give up on intimacy in our relationship, then there's an issue.
Yeah.
And there's a decision to be made there. But I think it really is just about communicating and also sitting with yourself and thinking, did I want to do that? Do I want to do that? Do I need to take some time? Like, there's a lot of different ways to feel about it. You could feel nothing at all. And I really hope that's the case, because that's way simpler to just feel like, oh, I'm good, actually. Like, I really have thought about it and sat with it and I'm good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a difficult one to work through, and I'm no therapist, so
go speak to your therapist. But I will say that you're not weird or like this is abnormal or you're alone in this. Like, that piece of it is definitely real, and I feel like, again, not enough people talk about the fact that it does happen for people. It happened to me. Like, it's something that you need to work through with yourself, and hopefully some help, some therapists, some, and you have a loving partner who will work on intimacy in other ways, So, again, you're not alone in that. Please get some help, because it's very helpful.
Because it helps. I mean, in general, you should always be leaning on other people in your life and not just your partner. So I think sticking through that and making sure your friends and family are there for you.
Therapist.
Yeah, therapist. And if you realize you can't work through something with your partner, or you don't feel ready to bring it up to your partner, you can still lean on friends and family to, help guide you through that process of explaining things to them or whatever. Maybe you just want to talk to a friend about it first because you conveniently grabbed dinner together and it came up as a topic.
For sure.
So yeah, lean on your support system for sure.
And lastly, I think this is like the fun and light point of it, but like be excited about celebrating your milestones with this new person. As you build new memories and build upon your relationship, and you have, you know, your first Christmas and like, you know, your first times doing whatever it is that you're doing.
Our first fight that we actually resolved.
I mean, fun. Like, you can resolve conflict. I think that's really
that's
great.
makeup sex, is it not? That's you celebrating the fact that you guys...
But like, lean into that. Lean into the fact that you get to make all these new moments for yourself and for this like relationship.
Yeah.
I know for me, it was a big deal making it past like a year and a half with somebody, because it was like, oh, it could really go on for this long. And I don't know, I think you start to like realize that like people are dependable and loyal and responsible and actually care about you and want to live life with you, knowing that your like emotional stability is important to them. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, as you live more life with them and the milestones grow, like, you start to realize that it literally never was about you, but like, it's not you, you know?
It's not about you, but it is absolutely about you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that part is easy for some to do, maybe, like celebrating, fun, whatever, but like genuinely doing it and being like, remember when I was wishing for my person? Remember when I like really wanted it to just happen already?
Yeah.
I think those are like the really good memories to start making and leaning on if that's where you're at in life. I'm happy for you. Genuinely, I know it sounded a little...
I'm happy for you.
I'm happy for you. What good things happen to other people, not me. No, but actually, I'm happy for you. And we all deserve it. And we're all going to find it, to those of us who are still single. And especially if you're listening to this. And you know what? Go the extra mile. Send that person that you're talking to, that situationship, send them this episode. Be like, babe,
we can make it through.
They're like dating after, or in a relationship after cheating. I didn't cheat on you. You're like, just listen. No, but actually I do sometimes wish I could do that, but that would be ridiculous. So instead, we just gotta do the hard work.
Gotta do the work yourself.
But yeah, I think that's it for this episode.
Thanks for listening. Thank you for tuning in however you are. Go ahead and make sure to give us a rating, a little review. It helps us so much. And if you can, follow us on Instagram. We Care a Lot Pod. We're also on YouTube and TikTok and anyway, all of the things. Please go engage with us. We really appreciate you being here. And again, we want nothing but the best for you. So keep working out those
relationship triggers.
Yeah.
Fun. You got this.
You got this. Anyway, we'll catch you guys in Glowing Hour. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.